So I don't think that all views are equal, and I don't think that people who hold evil views are necessarily good. I mean, I'm sorry if the polls don't support the idea that everyone is equally wonderful, but everyone is not equally wonderful.
Ben Shapiro humiliates woke culture. While woke culture claims to champion progress, Ben Shapiro argues it's a defile of reality, biology, even free speech. From pushing men into women's sports to enforcing skewed definitions of gender, Shapiro is ready to slice through the chaos and reveal the glaring contradictions lurking beneath the surface. Let's break down exactly how he destroyed these woke ideas one by one. Let's start things off with a striking example of woke absurdity. Ben Shapiro utterly destroys a woke student who dared to label him a racist. The atmosphere was electric as the student confronted Shapiro. Armed with snippets of controversial statements, the young man believed he could corner Shapiro with these charges, but Shapiro stood tall, ready to defend his words with clarity and conviction. As the student struggled to present his case, Shapiro expertly dismantled the accusations, pointing out the context behind his statements. He argued that labeling him a racist was less about facts and more about shutting down the debate. The exchange revealed the student's inability to engage with Shapiro's arguments, highlighting the flaws in the woke narrative. Shapiro's calm demeanor contrasted with the student's frustration as he navigated through the complexities of the Israel-Palestine conflict, emphasizing that not all views hold equal weight. With sharp logic and undeniable evidence, Shapiro not only defended himself but also exposed the contradictions and absurdities of woke culture, leaving the audience in awe of his mastery of the art of debate.
Yes, because if someone calls me a racist without evidence, they are definitionally a dumbass.
I've been watching you for years now, and I read your book on the arguments to fight against people like me. And I feel bad because, for the most part, the people who have been arguing against you aren't nearly as elegant or eloquent as they should be. But I'd just like to ask, so one of your points you very strongly make is that it's unfair for people like me to label you as a racist or a bigot just as a smear tactic. But have you ever acknowledged that maybe it's not a smear tactic, but it's based on things you've said? So for example, on the Israel-Palestine conflict, you called the Arabs, yeah, you already know what I'm going to say. I'm sorry, I didn't mean to presume. Yeah, so you say
I've written several full columns about it.
Yeah,
I've talked about how people don't read the follow-up tweets. I wrote a column.
I've read some of the tweets, and the tweets were just as bad. I mean, you say a lot of things that are just racist, right? But then if I call you a racist, then you defend it by saying I didn't read enough, right? So that's what I was going to say before.
So
you see the Arabs,
give me okay, fine. So give me my racist tweets and content.
The Arabs like to bomb crap and live in open sewage. It's not a typical day. Well, you before that said Israelis like to build.
Did you okay? Now the follow-ups, because you said the follow-ups didn't make it any better.
Well, there's separate things that you said.
No.
Also
I want
bad.
follow-ups to that one though.
Follow-ups to that specific.
Would you like me to
tweet?
get them? I'll get them.
If you have them, sure. But in the mean, do you mind if while you do that?
What was that?
Do you mind if I continue while you do that?
Well, I'd like to take them one by one. So
sure.
Okay. Why don't we do this? Why don't we delay that one until the end?
On that particular issue, you've also said that the Arab-Palestine populace is, by and large, constitutes the most evil population on the face of the planet. Before you said that you've never brought up religion when it comes to abortion, but I don't think that you've avoided religion when it comes to the Israeli conflict. And I don't know that you can be completely unbiased in the issue, given that,
Well, I can be unbiased on the subject that the Palestinians have elected 3 terrorist governments to form a unity government with the stated goal of the destruction of the state of Israel and the murder of all Jews in the area. So that I can be relatively unbiased on. As far as the idea that the Palestinian population...
Point being?
As far as the idea that the Palestinian population is more evil than other populations, they certainly hold more evil views than other populations by poll statistics, by how many Palestinians approve of terror attacks, by how many Palestinians voted for an actual terror group, Hamas, and another actual terror group, Palestinian Authority, and another actual terror group, the Islamic Jihad. Okay, so I don't think that all views are equal, and I don't think that people who hold evil views are necessarily good. I mean, I'm sorry if the polls don't support the idea that everyone is equally wonderful, but everyone is not equally wonderful. Okay, I'm looking up these statements now.
Good versus evil.
Give me a second.
But you've continued. You deny secular Zionism, and you
quote. Okay, so here I've got. Okay, so I'll finish that one, then we can move. Okay, ready? There are many Christian and Muslim Arabs who are wonderful people, just not the ones who oppose Israel in the Israel-Arab conflict. That would be the response within the same Twitter thread. Okay, in the post Israelis versus Arabs, I wrote about Arabs who take part in the Israeli-Arab conflict, as anyone who can read knows. #dumbasses.
My man does sure stuff. Oh, I love it.
What is genocide? Like so you said that you want to be like Churchill, right? And after the Allies, when they moved the German-speaking Polish out of Poland.
So now you're talking about a column I wrote when I was 19 years old that I morally abhorred and denounced myself. I think 6 years ago.
Yeah,
and have repeatedly said was a bad column that I wrote when I was 19 years old.
Okay.
Okay, so.
In a stunning clash of ideas, Ben Shapiro faced off against a woke college student who accused him of calling medical transitioning for children child abuse. The student challenged Shapiro's stance, pointing out his son's circumcision as hypocritical regarding bodily autonomy. Unfazed, Shapiro expertly differentiated circumcision from irreversible hormone treatment, stating you can't be both circumcised and uncircumcised. He emphasized that while he respects parental choices, irreversible procedures on children are a serious concern. With calm confidence, Shapiro dismantled the student's arguments, showcasing his ability to highlight the contradictions in woke culture and leaving his opponent without solid ground to defend.
You have claimed that you oppose medical transitioning for these children, namely and specifically to what normally happens is puberty blockers, which you called it child abuse. Is that correct?
It is. That's correct.
You consider it You consider it child abuse. You consider it child abuse because you believe that a child is not capable of consenting to what you consider are irreversible procedures. Is that correct?
A damaging, irreversible procedure.
Damaging. Okay. Ben, are your children circumcised? Did you circumcise your children?
Yes, I have two sons and they're both circumcised.
Why would you do that? Isn't that kind of hypocritical?
Nope, I'm circumcised. My works just fine.
Why?
It doesn't seem like you could possibly have a basis for comparison. You can't be both circumcised and uncircumcised. You're going to have to choose. As far as the efficacy of a once it's circumcised, if you wish to get into the biology, I'm perfectly happy to just point at my 4 children. I've been fruitful and I've multiplied. It's all working out just great. As for...
Let's look at another powerful moment where Ben doesn't hold back from talking about woke absurdity. He took on the controversial issue of trans athletes competing in women's sports, highlighting the dangers and absurdities of the current landscape. He kicked things off by referencing a shocking clip of a male volleyball player spiking a ball with such force that it sent a female opponent to the hospital. Shapiro made it clear this isn't just a harmless game. He cleverly pointed out that while getting hit in volleyball can happen, there's a world of difference when a male athlete who is typically stronger and faster competes against women. Shapiro argues that this reality isn't just a minor inconvenience, it's a threat to the safety and fairness of women's sports. He pressed further, questioning the idea of gender equality in sports and suggesting that if we're blurring the lines between men and women, then perhaps we should eliminate gender categories. With sharp wit and undeniable logic, he made his case that it's not about discrimination. It's about protecting women and preserving the integrity of sports. In a world grappling with these pressing issues, Shapiro stood firm, cutting through the noise of woke culture and clarity and conviction.
Ben, at some point, do these people not realize how dangerous this is? Is it going to take a UFC fighter, a man just beating a woman to death in the octagon for them to realize how crazy this is?
Well, I mean, I think even if that happened, they would just ignore it. I mean,
they would. They say it's equality.
Right. I mean, the whole point here is that everyone can see the things that are happening in front of their eyes.
Literally.
And we keep seeing this stuff. I mean, you mentioned Leah Thomas. I mean, that race where Leah Thomas is 2 pool lengths ahead of all of the women. People are like, this is an amazing female performance. This is just incredible. It's like the same thing happening right here. I mean, you watch this particular video, and at the beginning, the male is not on the screen. You're like, where's the dude? And then the male comes on the screen. That's
for sure.
You mean the very, very tall human who's significantly taller and stronger than everybody else out there?
Yeah.
And that person apparently put this in their college reel.
Really?
He put it in his college reel. Because it's a high school thing. I think that they were trying. This person was trying to apply for a female scholarship at a college and put it in their highlight reel, just spiking a ball directly into the face of a woman, which normally would be classified as some form of abuse, is now apparently athletic prowess. So I mean, it's astonishing. But I very much look forward to playing Little League Baseball against the 12-year-olds.
Oh,
and
yeah.
just I will smoke them. I will be the Barry
You're
Bonds.
like Rob Schneider from Benchwarmers. That's exactly what.
But I mean, I'm coming around all the way on the other side, and I think that we should actually obliterate both the male and female categories because obviously, they're the same, men and female. So we should just get rid of Title IX. Right? Title IX is predicated on the idea that women's sports need special help, but we don't know what a woman is, so obviously they don't. So that means that we should get rid of all this stupid funding that goes to a bunch of sports that nobody's ever watched, and we should reallocate that funding back to sports that people actually like to watch. And then we can just have the best person try out for the team. And we'll see how that works out for the basketball teams. We'll see how many women are on the Alabama basketball team, and we'll get to see how many women are on the Michigan football team, and we'll get to see exactly how many women are playing for the University of Louisville baseball team, and it'll work out amazing. Well, I'm sure the women will do amazing because women are exactly the equals of men in every single respect. They're indistinguishable, and it is a slur on women to suggest that there is anything like throws like a girl. But to say that such a thing exists is a slur, and the only way to prove this is to let women go out for the men's baseball team and recognize that it's just a unisex world. Let's have that world and we'll see how it shakes out.
Ben doesn't just face off with students. Even woke members at Congress fall apart when they're up against Ben Shapiro and on his thoughts against woke culture. The discussion began with Shapiro's clear stance on immigration, calling for the deportation of illegal immigrants who drain taxpayer resources. As the conversation shifted to controversial topics like abortion and marriage, Shapiro emphasized personal responsibility and state rights, asserting his belief in traditional marriage while respecting individual freedoms. The congressman tried to corner Shapiro on the morality of same-sex relationships, but Shapiro deftly navigated the conversation, focusing on the distinction between personal beliefs and government regulations. When the topic turned to education, Shapiro dismissed the notion of banning books about slavery, arguing instead for age-appropriate content in schools. His calm, reasoned responses left little room for the congressman to maneuver. As the debate wound down, Shapiro's clarity highlighted the absurdities of the opposing arguments, showcasing how he dismantles woke ideology with a blend of wit and witticism. This moment not only illustrates Shapiro's mastery of debate, but also reinforced his status as a leading voice against the excesses of woke culture.
It. You probably want less bureaucracy, right?
I do.
I want less bureaucracy. You want more efficiency.
I do.
I want more efficiency. You want taxpayer money spent wisely.
I do. Congrats on becoming a Republican.
Yeah. My parents will be proud. Mass deportations, it calls for that. Do you support that part?
I support the deportation of any illegal immigrant who is in the United States who is not of benefit to the generalized American public.
So if they're picking agriculture that puts food on the tables of everyday Americans, they've never committed a crime inside the United States, they didn't come across with documents, should they be deported?
It depends on how long it would take for them to pay the taxes, and they would also have to go presumably to the back of the line, although I'm not sure why I'm testifying about immigration policy at this point.
How about banning the abortion pill? That's part of Project 2025. Do you support that part?
I think that that's a state-by-state issue on a personal level. I'm
just asking you.
Sure. I'm a fully pro-life person, which means that I'm not in favor of the distribution of the abortion pill.
Banning same-sex marriage. What about that part?
I am in favor of traditional marriage between a man and a woman, and I'm perfectly fine with anyone having any sort of voluntary sexual arrangement they seek. That's a different thing from whether the government should attach benefits to that personal relationship.
But you think it's a sin to have same-sex marriage?
I mean, I'm confused. Are you asking me as a religious Jew what I think about biblically?
I'm just asking, is it a sin to be gay?
Is it a sin to be gay? I mean, how long do we have here? 2 minutes? I mean, if the basic idea is that sexual orientation is up for government regulation, I'm not in favor of the government regulating the private consenting sexual activity of adults. That is a different thing, once again, from whether the government ought to engage in actual benefits for particular sexual arrangements that adults make.
But again, just you to me, is it a sin or not?
From a religious Jewish perspective, orientation is not a sin, but activity is. That's also the same perspective of most major religions, so far as I'm aware.
But the ridiculousness goes deeper. Shapiro argues that the woke crowd wants us to believe that sex and gender are completely separate. He boldly declares that he wouldn't alter fundamental biology to accommodate subjective identities. As the activists argued for acceptance, Shapiro pointedly reminded them of the Boy Scout standards, emphasizing that one must be a biological boy to join. His unwavering stance not only reinforced the importance of clear definitions, but also highlights the absurdity of compromising basic facts for the sake of feelings. In this brief but powerful moment, Shapiro showcased his knack for cutting through the noise of woke culture with clarity and conviction.
I'm not going to modify basic biology because it threatens your subjective sense of what you are.
Okay, no, you're still saying you teach, like, now if you accept and then you'll really fit into your place. And just like,
I'm saying that the Boy Scouts have a standard. You must be a biological boy to be a Boy Scout. You have to be a boy to be a Boy Scout. No. In the name Boy Scouts.
And one more fiery exchange with a woke student at UCLA. Ben Shapiro took aim at the reliance on credentials in debates about social issues. When challenged about his expertise in fields like psychology and gender studies, Shapiro confidently dismissed the notion that having a PhD automatically grants authority. Argument from authority is a dumb argument, he asserted, making it clear that you don't need advanced degrees to challenge flawed ideas. With wit and clarity, he emphasized that understanding complex issues doesn't hinge on academic titles, leaving his opponent stunned and the audience applauding. Shapiro's rebuttal exemplified how to cut through woke nonsense with logic and conviction.
So I was at UCLA in political science and then Harvard Law School.
Okay. So you don't have, you wouldn't consider yourself an expert in sociology?
I don't consider sociology a particularly expert field, but go ahead.
What I'm getting at is that you're not considered an expert in sociology, psychology, gender studies, lesbian dance theory, any of the things that you brought up tonight.
And I know a lot more about all those others than lesbian dance theory. As far as, if you want to take issue with the argument, I would urge you not to use the argument from authority, which is somebody has a PhD by that and they know what they're talking about. That's a dumb argument. I don't need a 7-year degree in sociology, no bullshit when I hear it.
There is no way that Ben will stop criticizing woke ideology. And one more debate with trans students. The students argued that it's impossible to identify a person's gender at first glance. With sharp clarity, Shapiro counted that in 99.9% of cases, gender can indeed be determined by observing physical traits. He reminded everyone that for most of human history, gender has been defined by clear, observable characteristics. Doctors do this at birth, he pointed out, effectively dismantling the student's argument. Shapiro's confident defense of biological realities showcased his ability to challenge woke ideology with logic and historical context, leaving a powerful impact on the discussion.
Ben Shapiro completely destroyed this pro-trans students argument.
We cannot fully identify a gender of a person right when we see them, so therefore I believe that it is not within my own individual liberty to gender that person.
Here's my problem with that particular argument. 99.9% of cases, you absolutely can gender somebody based on looking at them. Here's the deal. For all of human history, there was an objective standard between male and female. It was out of simply looking at people's genitals and assessing them based on their outward appearance, which is still true for nearly all human beings on planet Earth at all times.
You can't really describe someone without secondary sex characteristics and gender them into something.
You can based on primary sex characteristics if you can see their genitals. Doctors do this literally at birth all the time.
Transgenderism argues that if you believe that you are a woman, you are therefore a woman. Or if you believe that you're a man, you are therefore a man. Ben Shapiro faced off against a leftist who leaned heavily on the support of major medical associations to argue that sex and gender are entirely separate. Shapiro stood firm, insisting that while gender and sex can differ in expression, they are undeniably linked to biology. He challenged the notion that subjective identity can redefine objective terms like male and female, highlighting the absurdity of disregarding biological facts. When pressed on defining a woman without using the term itself, he pointed out the logical fallacy in the question, emphasizing the importance of objective measure in identifying gender. Shapiro boldly declares that any medical professional denying the male-female dichotomy is prioritizing politics over science. His confident rebuttals not only dismantled his opponent's arguments, but also underscored a broader critique of woke culture, asserting the reality of biology in a world increasingly mired in subjective ideologies.
Why do you believe you're right about trans people given the American Psychological Association, American Medical Association, American Psychoanalytic Association? I can go on for about 5 more associations that are very prominent and govern the existing like health government or health industries within like the major Western countries.
Okay, so sex and gender are 2 different concepts, but gender is tied to biology. So one of the big problems that you see in sort of the argument in favor of trans rights is this notion that gender and sex are completely separable. They're not completely separable. If they are completely separable, then this means that identifying people by their subjective gender really has no relevance as to whether they are a male or a female. Male and female are biological terms. So using terminology like male and female to describe a self-perception of maleness or femaleness is sort of a bizarre way of arguing whether a thing is a man or a woman. So here's my question. It's an argument that my friend Matt Walsh likes to make. What is a woman? Define what a woman is without reference to the word woman, please.
Right. So this dichotomy is a false dichotomy that isn't supported by any of the medical associations that I just named off.
Then let me explain.
None of the medical associations that I just named off would actually support the idea that gender is biological. This is something that's completely untrue within every single like medical consensus.
Well, then I will just say that anyone who suggests that gender has no reference whatsoever to biology, it's not connected in any way to biology, is just full of shit. Because if the reason
in this debate, a woke woman just tried to run away from the debate by throwing trashy comments at Ben, and there was no chance that Shapiro would let it fly. The student sought to emphasize women's rights to their bodies. With calm authority, Shapiro responded, asserting that while he believes women should have autonomy, it does not extend to taking the life of another human being. He expressed that his concerns lies with the preservation of life, not controlling women's choices. Shapiro challenged the notion that having children ruins lives, citing polls that show married women with children are among the happiest in America. When the student accused him of using a straw man argument, Shapiro didn't back down. He called out the student for not providing any real explanation, turning her rebuttal into a mere dismissal. His points resonate as he deftly dismantled the emotional rhetoric with factual evidence, showcasing the complexity of the issue while standing firmly by his beliefs. This exchange perfectly illustrated Shapiro's ability to tackle woke culture head-on, leaving his opponent scrambling for a solid counter-argument amidst a sea of logic and reason.
I really wanted to thank you for coming out today and specifically for talking to those who have different viewpoints than your own. I'm not looking to argue with you. I just want to know about the ideology as to why you think that a woman shouldn't have the right to her own bodily autonomy in regards to abortion.
A woman should have the right to her own bodily autonomy, but not to kill another human. You know, but as far as the idea that I'm like sitting awake at night thinking, how do I control women's bodies? No, not really, not at all, actually. The thing that I do care about is the preservation of human lives. I don't have an argument that pro-choicers are ignoring a premise. That's fine. You're allowed to ignore a premise or think a premise that I'm giving is wrong. It turns out that the vast majority of women for literally all of human existence have engaged in childbearing and rearing, and it has not, in fact, ruined their lives. In fact, married women with children are, by poll data, the happiest women in America.
All right, thank you for the straw man fallacy. Thank you.
I missed what she actually said. What was it? Straw man?
Straw man fallacy, I think.
You can't just shout straw man and run away. Do you want to come back and explain why it was a straw man, or no? Okay, you're just going to run away.
The stand of Ben Shapiro against woke culture hasn't stopped yet. In the final moments of our video, let's have a look at a heated moment where Ben confronted a self-proclaimed woke liberal, exposing the flaws in their understanding of wokeness. The liberal suggested that historical injustices like slavery still cast a shadow over modern society, claiming that today's inequalities stem from these past wrongs. Shapiro challenged this notion head-on, arguing that the essence of wokeness is a belief that all current disparities are linked to ongoing injustices, a premise he found deeply flawed. With clarity and confidence, he pointed out how this perspective shifts definitions to dodge the consequences of the liberals' arguments. Shapiro's insistence on objective truths pierced through the emotional rhetoric, making it clear that the focus should be on individual actions rather than blaming society at large. His powerful rebuttal left the liberals scrambling for answers, demonstrating Shapiro's skill in dismantling woke ideology with sharp logic and unwavering conviction. He proved once again that reason can triumph over rhetoric.
So you are officially woke. It's like, people's grandparents or their
great-grandparents were slaves?
Well, it's okay. No. That is not wokeness. What wokeness suggests is that fundamental institutions in American
No.
society...
I am a representative of wokeness.
Okay, well,
and that's just, this is all it is.
Well, I mean...
Like...
I mean...
Right.
But if the idea is... But that's not what wokeism is. Wokeism is a different thing. Wokeism suggests that all inequalities of today are attributable to not only historic injustices, but also continuing injustices in the now, and that all disparity is attributable to discrimination.
Like that, but a conservative.
Not just that. Not just
a conservative is the only person.
Not just.
I want to know why. Why is it that conservatives are the only people who define it like that? On a
fundamental level, you're shifting definitions to avoid the consequences of your own argument.
If you're interested in more critiques of woke culture, you should definitely check out Jordan Peterson's incisive commentary that challenges the narrative. And don't forget to share your thoughts on Ben Shapiro's perspectives in the comments below.